Do secondary, AKA basement suites, have to be legal? That's a great question. We help a lot of our clients buy properties with income potential to help lower the costs of home ownership and give them options in the future. A secondary suite is legal when it has gone through the building permit process and the city says that is a legal duplex, triplex, secondary suite. Those are different things. Another video on that later. There are legal non-conforming units, and what that means is it went through a building permit process, but since then the building code has changed, so it's, grandfathered is the word they use. But if you were to reapply now, it wouldn't be up to code. Some of the units that we own fall into that category. One of the big differences recently is every unit has to have a separate heating and cooling. Should note that most of the secondary units, income suites and houses in the city of Toronto aren't legal. I don't see the city cracking down on that anytime soon. It would be a quagmire if they did. They'd have to have a process by which you could make things legal quickly, and they would lose a lot of rental stock, and that's not something that's very politically motivated right now. There are some risks with the secondary suite not being legal. The first risk are at some point banks might say, hey, we're not going to count that income, towards your mortgage if it's not a legal suite. The second one is insurance companies might say, hey, we're not insuring your house anymore if that's not a legal secondary suite. And the third risk, and this, actually happens, is, building inspectors will take a look at the rest of your property when you bring them in, to look at something, and especially if you make them angry. Don't make them angry. This actually happened to one of our neighbors, not a client. They bought what they thought was a triplex, and they were doing some plumbing work in the basement, and they annoyed the contractor, annoyed the building inspector, and so then he went and checked and found it was a single family dwelling, and so it's been a very expensive and time-consuming process, and they lost a lot of rent in the process trying to bring it to a multi-unit dwelling again. I should note that determining if you have a legal suite, it seems like it should be straightforward. You can go to the city and say, what are your records? The problem is if you look at MPAC or, some of the other things, they actually can be wrong. So I think maybe that's why banks and insurance companies to date haven't really made this an issue, because it's kind of hard to prove sometimes, it's even hard for us realtors. One of the benefits of not having a legal suite is you can actually do luxury or short-term rentals in that unit. So say you wanted, to use a nanny suite in your basement, when your parents come, like I do, my parents come and visit, they stay there, or, then in the winter the kids can play there, and then you can get some income from it from part of the year when you're not using it. But you can't do that if it's a legal secondary suite. One of the big things we always recommend, to our clients, even if it isn't a legal secondary suite, is to make sure you bring it up to fire code, just so you can sleep at night, honestly, making sure there's fire exits, making sure there's fire-rated drywall. We have an inspector that'll actually come in, you pay him and he comes in and gives you a report and says, here's what you need to do to bring this property up to current fire code, and then you can just get a builder to do that. It's not that complicated, and frankly, it really will help you sleep at night. So, listen, if you're looking at buying a property with an income suite, make sure, you're working with a realtor that understands building code, understands the landlord-tenant stuff. It can get complicated and it can go sideways sometimes. That's why you want someone that has experience, and preferably someone that does that for themselves. And this question actually came to us from another realtor because we're known in the industry as having experience, with income properties, with building and development and renovations. That's just one of the many things that we do. If you have any questions about properties with income suites, we are very passionate about it. We love to discuss it. Please book a call through the link below. Talk soon.